You have found why we are Christians. My name is Kent Philpott, and we are going to be talking with someone I've known for quite a number of years, named Charlene Hios. Very interesting story. Welcome, Charlene.
Well, thank you, Kent. It's good to be here with you tonight.
Glad you're here. We've got a lot of things to talk about.
Yes.
Whole bunch. And let's go back. Let's start right from the beginning.
Okay.
Let's give us where you were born, a little bit about your parentage, all that sort of stuff. You don't have to tell us what year you were born.
Oh, I don't mind.
You don't mind, okay. Anyway, where'd you grow up?
All right. I grew up on the East Coast in Lynn, Massachusetts, which is really close to the Boston area, which explains for those that know me, you know, about how much I love the Red Sox and the Bruins.
Oh, that's right.
The Celtics.
You're a Red Sox
yes.
fan. Oh, my goodness.
Diehard Red Sox fan.
Chance and Red Sox fans. Oh.
I grew up in the city of Lynn, which has actually been around since the 1600s. And it has a little ditty about it, and the ditty about it is Lynn, Lynn, the city of sin. You never come out the way you went in. and I like to use that in my testimony because I came to know Christ Jesus. I know I'm jumping ahead here, but I came to know Christ Jesus in Las Vegas, Nevada, the city of sin.
Now, was Lynn really a really bad place?
Yes.
You said Lynn, the city of sin. Now, how did that happen?
I don't have a clue.
It was just, how about your parents?
Oh, my mom, she was born in Lynn as well, and my dad was born close by in Peabody. My mom's parents came from Scotland and from Denmark, and my dad's parents came from Sparta, Greece.
Sparta, Greece.
Yeah, so I like to say that that's where I get all my fighting from. You know, my courage.
So your last name, Hios, H-I-O-S, that's
yes.
Greek?
Yes.
That means?
Well, actually, it could mean son.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Hios means son.
Yes. Now, actually, my last name is actually in the Bible. It's in the book of Acts, somewhere around chapter 20. It's one of the islands that the Apostle Paul goes by or goes to, I think, on his third missionary journey.
Really?
Yeah. Which, you know, just a little bit of information. But my dad died when I was, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years old. And so my mom was a single mom, working 3, 4 jobs. She was a high school dropout because she had to take care of her parents because both of her parents, one was disabled. Actually, both of them became disabled through different reasons. And so she went, not only was she working 3 jobs, 2, 3, 4 jobs, depending on what was going on, and she was also trying to go to school at nighttime to get her GED and go to school to learn a trade like a Texas Instrument type of trade. It's called tectonics, I think. It was a long time ago.
Now, were you the oldest in your family?
No, I'm actually the third oldest. I mean, the third oldest. I have a sister out there somewhere that my mom gave up for adoption that was born about 4 years before my oldest sister was born. My oldest sister was born in 54, and then there's me. I was born in 58.
58?
Yeah,
wow,
so
okay.
Yeah, I'm getting old, but I don't feel old. I feel very young. And then I have a younger sister, about 12 years younger than me, and a younger brother, about 14 years younger than me.
Your dad was out of the house. He was gone.
Yes.
And how does your mother cope with that, with having all those kids on? She must have remarried.
She remarried when I was about 12 or 13. So there were about 10 years that that my older sister and I went without a dad. And it was tough. She did have help from her brother, we lived in their house. They had it was like a 3-story tenement building, you know, there in the Boston area. You know, those tenement buildings that they have with all the apartments in it. For the most part, I thought she did a pretty good job raising us. You knew she loved us. At nighttime when she had the opportunity, she would read to us. And my older sister tells me that she read us Bible stories.
She read you Bible stories?
Yeah, but I don't remember that.
Do you remember going to church or anything?
Yes.
Okay.
On Sundays, my mom was brought up Catholic. I was brought up Catholic. And on Sundays, my older sister and I, Joanne, would go to church. But Mom would not go with us because Mom, at the time, Mom had, my dad was divorced. And in Catholicism, if somebody marries a divorced person, then that you're not allowed to take the sacraments. And my mom said, well, what's the sense of going to church?
So your earliest experience with anything of religious nature was at Roman Catholic Church.
Yeah, St. Mary's.
St. Mary's.
St. Mary's in Lynn.
Okay.
And Sunday mornings, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed going to the church. They had the huge rows of pews on, either side, and then on the sides they had the life-size statues of the Stations of the Cross, and then they had that huge altar, very ornate altar. The ceiling was ornate with paintings on it. In the back they had the pipe organs and the choir fully robed. I love listening to the choir singing. The priest would, do their procession down the middle aisle, and there was just something about all of that pageantry of the Roman Catholic Church that, even though it didn't tell me back then about Christ, it stirred something up, in me. So there was always this awe, I knew something was special. And there was this one statue over the very middle of the altar. And it was hanging from the ceiling, and it was a crucifix.
Crucifix,
but,
sure.
I never did know who that guy was on the cross.
You didn't know?
I didn't. A lot of the Mass back then was in Latin. And we just had our kind of rote things that we would say. We would kneel and we would say something. And there was some of it in English, but I don't remember. I just always wondered who the poor guy was because he had a lot of pain on his face.
What, did you like school?
Oh, I loved school.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness, I haven't thought about grade school in ages. I actually had a crush on my first grade teacher, Miss Bemis.
You had a crush on your
yeah,
teacher?
on my first grade teacher. Who knows why. I remember in my school, Tracy Elementary in Lynn, we did a portrait. We painted a portrait on the wall, a huge portrait of Little Red Riding Hood. And I remember that I got to do a lot of it. I guess I had some artistic talent, which has escaped me now.
Now sports now.
Oh.
Now, I know that I know baseball.
Oh yeah, I used to play, in the backyards, big backyards not really backyards, like the back parking lots of different businesses, because Lynn's a city, so it was very industrious, and all the guys we would go in the backyard, in the parking lot, and we would play, and I usually pitched. I had a really good curve ball, and
You had a really good
I had a
curveball.
good curve ball, and
Now, how did you hold the curveball? Let me see that.
I need the ball.
Well,
Just the fingers on the seam.
okay. Sounds like you're throwing a cut fastball or maybe a slider. But
Maybe.
But
I'm thinking it was a curveball, but who knows? We didn't have any coaches back there. I just knew that the guys couldn't hit what I threw.
Really?
Yeah. Well, sometimes they could.
Okay.
But,
so now you did baseball.
well, I did baseball until we all got to high school, and then once we got into high school, we're talking 1973 to 1976. And back then, girls were not allowed to play with the boys on the baseball teams.
Sure.
I actually tried to try out with the high school team, and the coach just looked at me, but all my buddy guys, all the boys said, but she's a really good pitcher. She can really play. She can strike everybody out. And they said, no, she can't. She needs to go play with the girls and play softball. And I said, I don't want to play softball. So I didn't play. But it was very disappointing that I couldn't, just because I was a girl who was good, I wasn't allowed. So I was not happy about that.
Okay.
I actually gained a lot of weight. Not to make excuses for gaining weight, but in high school I gained a lot of weight from not being that active.
Okay, yeah.
But in high school I did a lot. I got involved in languages.
In what was that?
Languages, German.
Languages. Now, yes, I read that in your information sheet that you filled out for me. Now, I was astonished. I never knew anything about that, the languages. What was that about?
Oh, German. In high school I took 3 years of German, 2 years of Spanish, just a year of French because I just had a really hard time with French. I just wasn't able to figure it out. But the German I really enjoyed the German.
You did?
It really stuck with me. And it turns out that I have a propensity for languages in that I was going after high school, I was going into the military, into the Air Force.
Yeah.
And I tested they did a made-up language type of thing. And in this made-up language, I excelled. I did the best that anybody had ever done on it in the Northeast. But when I got into basic training, I got called into the commander's office, and they said, we can't let you go into the language program because you're a woman. It's like, what is this? Because I'm a woman. Because there were combat situations. I would be learning languages and then going into the wilderness on islands and intercepting radios and things like that, radio messages, and in case I was to be caught.
Sure.
I'm a woman, and they just didn't allow women in combat situations.
I understand. Now, we have to go back a little bit. You were in the Air Force. I was in the Air Force too.
Yes.
You did a 4-year term?
I did 4 years.
4 years, and then 4 years active, 2 years inactive, right?
Yes.
Yeah, same as me.
Yeah, you were.
Okay, what rank did you get to?
E4.
E4,
But
same as me.
I had a line number for E5.
Yeah, when you got promoted to E5 when you were in inactive, right?
I had to re-enlist.
Oh, did you?
But this was during the time when I think President Reagan was in, and they kind of did a freeze on re-enlistments. Remember when he was cutting back on everything back in 80, 81? So I never re-enlisted. I wish I had, though. I wish I had waited until they lifted the freeze and then gone in, but I didn't.
So what was it? We used to call it the AFC. What was your what was
my
your job?
FSC. Well, I was supposed to do linguistics, but because of that situation that I just talked about, I actually did logistics. It was a 645, which is supply.
Okay, you did logistics, moving stuff around from one warehouse to another.
Well, actually, I worked in the office.
Did you?
Like the crew chiefs would call up, and they would give me the teal number for the bomber or the tanker or the fighter jet or something, and they would order the parts for it.
Okay.
And we'd get I'd get it taken care of and then send it down to the warehouse type of thing.
So you're in the Air Force and you're in your 20s now?
Yeah, I joined when I was 17.
You joined when 17. I joined when I was 19.
Nice.
And so.
Yeah, you were a medic, right?
I was a medic.
Nice.
Okay. And so then, were you going to church then? Were you going to the Catholic chapel at the base?
I did. I did on occasion. I was learning. I had just learned how to play guitar, and I bought myself a Yamaha classical guitar with nylon strings, and I got in with some of the ladies and some of the guys that were in the dorm playing, and they said, "Hey, you should come to church and play with us at the noontime folk mass." And so I learned a lot of really good songs and got involved in the Catholic Church on bass. But you know what? During that time, when I was at the church, the Catholic Church, the chapel, I almost got out of the Air Force and became a nun.
Really?
Yeah, because I had this back when I was 12. I'd seen the movie Audrey Hepburn, 1958 Academy Award winning, The Nun Story.
The Nun Story.
And I had this calling back then when I was 12 to become a nun. But I didn't know what that meant. And I didn't have any guidance. There weren't pastors and stuff around to help me. And then when at 18, I got that calling again. And so I actually almost got out of the Air Force and almost became a nun. But, you know, the very day that I said no to God, I turned my back on him and said, no, I don't want to do that. Like within an hour's time, I walked into my life of homosexuality. It was like there was this full place in me, and then I emptied it by not being obedient to that calling.
Mm-hmm. Now, you just sprang the word. And and you know, the listening audience and viewing audience knows that Charlene and I have known for each other for a long time. And she has a wonderful ministry to people that are struggling with same-gender attraction. And this is why she's here. And we'll touch on some of the intricacies, political, social, and theological, otherwise, in another part of the program, which we're probably going to have three-parter. But so let's go back. Did you, when you were growing up, when you were in high school or maybe earlier, did you become aware of same-gender attraction?
No, I always enjoyed being close with women, but it had, you know, we're talking like a real tight friendship with women, and most of them were older women, at least 10 years older than I was. There was some attraction, but it didn't turn sexual until I got into the Air Force.
Okay. Did you date boys when you were going to high school?
No.
You didn't?
No.
It just wasn't happening?
No, it wasn't.
Okay. But you didn't identify that or attach any label to it or any...
No.
Were you troubled by it?
No, I wasn't troubled. I wasn't troubled by it. You mean when I actually... When
you were in high school and you...
Oh, yeah, no, not at all. Matter of fact, I spoke with some people from my high school class, and I shared with them, you know, my testimony of coming out of homosexuality, and they're still in the gay life. And they said, wow, we didn't know that you were gay. And it's like, well, I didn't know then either. It wasn't there at that time. It was, but it hadn't, their attractions were there, but it wasn't it wasn't sexual.
Okay. So after the Nun Story and Audrey Hepburn,
yeah, and
you're having a sense that you'd like to be that, and maybe had something to do with the relationship with God, and you shut that down, and that opened another door.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, you know, when I look back on it, I get choked up about it.
Do you?
You know, that I turned my back on God. Mm-hmm. And then it's like almost all of a sudden I went down, like within an hour's time, I went down into the day room. You know, in the women's dormitory, and within moments, this one lady walked in, and I just lusted after her, and that had never happened before. There was always a deep attraction to women, but it never had turned into lust.
Yes, okay.
And I went after it.
Yeah,
I'm not proud to say.
Did you, while you were in the military, did you start to self-identify?
Oh yeah. Oh, big time.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, this was before Don't Ask, Don't Tell. When you just didn't speak about it. There were definitely lesbians in the dorm. And we all found out who we were just by different things that we just knew. You know, the double talk that you could do. Mm-hmm. I was out and proud before We're
Out,
talking.
did you say out and proud?
I was out and proud before out and proud was what you did.
Okay.
I had no problem with it. I was in everybody's face. I'm surprised they didn't kick me out of the military.
Well, I remember when I never knew anything about homosexuality. And one day in the dorm, in the men's dorm, 2 guys got caught.
Ah.
And I happened to have been at the commander's office when the first sergeant, senior master sergeant, came in and talking about it. And everybody was all excited about it. And I really, it was the first time I would have been 20 years old, and I didn't know what, I tried to figure out what homosexuals did. I couldn't figure this out. What's this? But it was, that was something we learned about. But so you out and proud.
Yes. All my friends were just, they were just astounded.
Astounded.
They just couldn't believe it.
Now, did you let your family know?
Yeah, I did. I called up my mom because I felt I was lying to her. She was always asking me how everything was going. And so I felt I needed to tell her. And so I actually talked to my dad first, my stepdad.
Your stepdad.
And he said, well, you do need to tell your mom. He said, we were worried. We thought that you were going to tell us you were pregnant. So it was like, okay, no, I'm not pregnant. And yeah, my mom disowned me for, I don't know, maybe 6 months. She thought that she did something wrong. And I told her, I said, Mom, I said, it wasn't you, it's me. This is something that I chose to do. And I said, Mom, it's not you, it's me, don't worry. Because my mom was brokenhearted, about it. I can still remember that.
Is she living?
No, Mom went to be with Christ back in '03.
Okay.
Yeah, when she came to Christ at age 65. She died at age 75.
Okay.
And she was in Christ, so.
Okay.
Yeah, she's in a good place, as is my stepdad.
All right. Now, how about your sisters and your brother?
And my older sister Joanne was the first in our family to come to Christ. She was actually living down in Gilroy, near San Jose.
Yes.
And she would always tell us that, especially me, she would say, Leanie, that's my family nickname, Leanie, you're going to go to hell. And I said, no, this is the way God made me. God made me gay, so I don't want to listen to you. And my mom and my dad, they didn't know Christ then, so they were on my side, and they were all telling my sister to be quiet and leave me alone. But my sister Joanne learned that she needed to just pray for us and still be my sister and be their daughter. And when I did come to Christ in 1995, and when I came out of homosexuality, when I realized, the sinfulness of it, I called her up on the phone and I thanked her for 20 years of her praying for me.
Wow.
And so we sat on the phone crying. I'm a big believer in prayer.
Yes, I know you
are. Prayer works.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's not in our timing. It's in God's timing.
Yes. Wow, so there you are. And it was just a lot of, it was maybe I could say a target-rich environment in the barrack, in the dormitory there in the Air Force?
Oh, yeah.
Or did you have one special person that you were with?
Well, I was with my first, your first lover, for a little bit. Her name was Denny. Matter of fact, I'm in touch with her now, but she won't talk to me anymore. And she actually, I didn't want to leave her. I really liked her a lot, but she went and found somebody else. And yeah, there was a lot of, I wanted to be with just one person, but that's not how it went. There were just a lot of people doing what you do in the barracks.
Yeah.
A lot of trying to figure out who was gay and who wasn't gay, and if you liked them, trying to speak to them without other people knowing what you were talking about. It was challenging, trying to figure all that out.
Now, how about the people that you worked with at your duty office? You were out front? But did people just generally know that Charlene is.
They in the work environment in the office. I didn't talk about it because we were way too busy. It was constant. It was only when I was at the barracks or not on duty
Okay.
that we would talk about it. But I did meet a girl that I had a relationship with for 7 or 8 years. We even bought a house together. I met her. She was a reservist, and I was working the weekend. And she came in on the weekend, and we just hit it off, and we ended up living together for 7, 8 years.
Really?
Yeah, buying a house, 2 puppy dogs, that kind of thing.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
So it wasn't, it's just like with any relationship, you meet somebody wherever, whatever you're doing.
How many years you spend in the Air Force?
I served for 4.
You've served for 4.
4 years, and then the 2 years active
2 years
duty.
inactive.
Yeah.
Same exactly. I did. What did you do after you got out of the Air Force?
I joined, I went to work for a company called Spencer Gifts. They're in the malls. Spencer Gifts, Spencer's.
Yes.
They're the company that has all the off-color merchandise, posters of half-naked ladies and joke gifts, gag gifts, vibrators, things like that, costume jewelry. I was with them for 20 years.
Really? We have a rolling bag you used in your travels that you gave my wife,
yes.
Katie, and we still have that rolling bag.
Yeah, that's a nice bag.
Oh,
I think I paid like $500 for that bag.
Yeah, that was a nice one.
I was on the road Monday through Friday when I advanced in the company.
Okay.
I was, when I was working for them, I came to Christ while I was working for them. And
Now, we're in the next program.
Okay.
In the next program, Charlie,
Yes.
we're going to get to that whole story. We didn't.
Okay.
I wanted to get to it this time, but there was so much.
Yes.
So I said, well, I'm just going to let this one roll for a while.
Okay.
And so we're going to get to that coming up.
Okay.
So you got out of the Air Force in what year would have been?
December of '81.
In '81, you go to work for this company.
Spencer Gifts, yes.
Traveling around by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And in and out of relationships.
No, I kind of once I found somebody, I like to stay with them for, for however long it will last.
As it worked.
Yes.
All right. Okay. We're gonna have to close down now, Charlene. We got a good start. I feel very good about it.
Yes, I agree.
We got a good start. So you've been watching Why We Are Christians, and Charlene is going to tell the story in the very next program of how she did become a Christian. And then there's a lot of stuff that followed. Let me tell you, I know part of the story. All right, be looking for the next program. Until then, so long.